Now, if there's something I think that there's not one financial advisor or financial planner around the globe, never mind in South Africa, like doesn't matter where you are. I think the thought that goes through your mind is, compliance. I don't like compliance. It's a burden, and the thing is that it's not only a burden from a monetary point of view, it's absolutely a burden from a time point of view because it's taking us away from spending time with our clients. I've had some interesting discussions this week with people also asking around certain other things that I've spoken about before, but about this, does that mean that we now use automation, for example, in order to be able to deal with more clients, in the sense of that it replaces that interaction with the clients? And it's not that. What we want to do is understand why we do compliance in this context today, and how we can use that to our benefit in order to really get us to that point. And if you don't believe me, like, it's possible to get to see more clients regardless of compliance. And I think that's the big thing. So, on the other hand, I think what we're also really battling with is that clients couldn't give a damn about the paperwork and everything that they need to sign. They just need the answer, and they want to get to the point where they can go and sleep well at night. So that's the reality. However, unfortunately, regulation and legislation forces us to do loads of paperwork, have loads of conversations and things that we need to do. You know this. I'm not going to sell this to you. But yeah, I think that we're definitely always complaining about the fact that we feel like we are being over-regulated. I always say it's so sad that we need that because of a very small group of people, probably. But yeah, it might be very well that, the view is that compliance is killing the profession and small IFA businesses just because of all the requirements and all of that. But my guest today is going to put a whole different spin on this, a whole different perspective. And when I chatted to her a few weeks ago, my mind went, like, wow, this is amazing. So I'm going to introduce you to Julie Anley a little bit later. But before we do, let's get on with today's show. We've got a jam-packed edition for you today. Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you are doing well on this beautiful Friday morning, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode and sharing some amazing things with you. So today, what do we have? Well, we're talking to Julie Anley from Lemonaide, and more specifically, if you've recently received an email from me or you're part of PROpulsion Pro, that they have a product called Beeswax. So we'll talk about that. They obviously operate in the compliance space and all of that in a very specific area of that. So looking forward to introducing Julie to you. If you don't know her already, a sparkling personality, really nice to be around and to just have these amazing conversations with. So really looking forward to that. Then we also have Norma this morning. Norma's going to share 3 secrets to getting unstuck and getting going. So yeah, really excited always for what Norma has to share. I've got a couple of announcements, obviously, as per usual, and then we'll get into the conversation with Julie. So, yeah, I don't know, what's up? Let me say good morning quickly. I see there's lots of people already saying hi. Good morning, Terence. Awesome to see you, as always. Everybody, like always, when I see you here, I'm very excited, and it really warms my heart to see people say hi. So please do say hi. I know also, I realized recently that there's loads of people watching, but we don't know about you because you never say hi. So yeah, roof kyk daar in die geheim. Maar nonetheless, it's more important to watch than to say hi. But good morning, Kobus, all the way from Plet. Michelle, good morning, nice to see you. Awesome, thank you for being here. Mark, good morning, as always. Marky, I'm almost done with my planning. I'm coming to KZN, don't tell anyone. But yeah, so Buri, good morning. It's been a while, I think, since I've seen you. Good morning, Adrian, good morning, nice to see you. You, Anita, good morning, nice to see you as well. And then Julie, yes, good morning, nice to see you. Good, Kavendra, good morning, hope you're doing well. Albert, goeiemorgen, good morning. Heloise, daar van Pretoria, goeiemorgen, Heloise. I hope that's not a poppy infringement, but good morning. Mark, good morning, all the way down in Oz. You and I need to really catch up before the end of the year, please. Charmaine, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Saying hiya, folks. Wishing you all a super awesome Friday. Looking forward to the show. Thank you very much and a warm welcome. David, good morning. Nice to see you this morning. And we've got Carol, good morning. Carol, nice to see you. We've got Russell, good morning. Good morning, Russell. Renee, all the way over on LinkedIn. The game is here on YouTube. Don't tell anyone, Renee. Like, there's loads of things happening here on YouTube. Good morning, Mary. Nice to see you as well, also from Natal. Neil Phillips, good morning. Lekker in die Kaap. So nice. Jaco Roots, goeiemôre. Kan jy daarom nou die dag weer net. Like, guys, as I said on the show, like the only time I see Jaco is when we run into each other here in Krugersdorp, and hello and behold, the same day we run into each other. So yeah, craziness. Peter, good morning. Nice to see you. Carol saying there again, good morning. And then Mr. Rosenbrock, I'm assuming Mr. I don't know, B. Rosenbrock, good morning. Welcome. First time I've seen you on the show, so thank you very much for saying hi. Alrighty, so without any further ado, I'm really excited, as you can probably tell, and delighted, and just and after this, by the way, I am going to produce for the first time an international show. So yeah, a little bit of nerves there, but that only happens in 2 hours from now. So for now, let's focus on this show, and let's head on over to Nikki for the latest news brought to you by the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa.
Good morning, everybody listening, and good morning, Francois. So the FSCA has released a draft prudential standard for pension funds yesterday, which is now open for comment. Auditing and reporting requirements for pension funds are currently set out in different board notices under the Pension Funds Act. The regulatory reporting requirements, including the formats for reporting, are to some extent outdated. And the recent revision of Regulation 28 of the regulations under the Pension Fund Act, which was gazetted on the 5th of July, has also required additional reporting requirements in relation to infrastructure assets and amendments to asset spread requirements. So the regulatory reporting requirements for pension funds therefore need to take into account the amendments to Regulation 28. If that is the space that you work in, it might be worth it taking a look at this draft prudential standard. Comments will be open until the 23rd of January next year. Then that's just another reminder that the responses on unclaimed benefits, as well as the one on crypto assets, are due for comment at the end of the month. And FBI is also preparing some commentary. So if you would like to get involved in that, please let us know. Then on to the interesting things. According to research reported in the last edition of Cerulli Edge, now that is a research and consulting firm in the USA, the demand for financial planning increases with market volatility. Cerulli said that investors experiencing market volatility for the first time are more open to receiving advisor guidance. This report noted that 18% of investors working with an advisor do not have a financial plan in place, but they do consider one important. In light of that figure, they recommend that advisors reintroduce financial planning services during periods of high market volatility, since some clients may not be aware of their financial planning offerings. The research also noted that advisors who offer financial planning find that their clients are better positioned to stay the course and remain calm when market performance declines. This we know. And this enables advisors then to develop stronger relationships. Financial planning shifts the focus to progress made towards achieving goals rather than investment performance. So this is quite an interesting report. I think it just confirms what many of our financial advisors, financial planners already know. Then we had a delegation of CFP members from Australia and the US in our offices yesterday for a conversation. And it was really extremely interesting to see how many of the issues that we are experiencing in South Africa are exactly the same in places like Australia and the US. But one of the comments that the Australian CFP made yesterday was around finfluencers. And I thought I will share this information with you. In April of this year, Australian regulators actually clamped down on finfluencers. And Australian creators who offer financial advice without a license can now face 5 years in prison. So, what is a finfluencer? A creator known as a finfluencer makes contents about finances, budgeting tips, and explainers on things like complex investments. Some use their platforms to promote investing in stocks or assets, and they promise lofty returns in many cases. They've also flexed their luxurious lifestyles on places like Instagram and TikTok, and they credit their wealth to their investing prowess. But the Australian government is cracking down on these creators who offer advice without a federally issued license. So the Australian Securities and Investment Commission warned that influencers who continue to offer these financial services can be penalized with hefty fines and up to 5 years of jail time. And the reason why it is so important is because younger people are easily swayed by financial influencers. A ASIC survey conducted last year found that 64% of Australians who followed financial influencers reported changing their behavior because of online posts. And this is seriously scary because that is where they're getting their advice from. So if your online post is misleading, you may be breaking the law. And then just a last comment, our registrations at FPI for the tax planning event, which will be held on the 29th of November, is still open. We will have Dr. Marius Botha talking to us, and I think as he is known as the father of financial planning, every one of us will be very excited to listen to him. Thank you, Francois. May you have a wonderful weekend further.
Alrighty, so I realized as we went into the FBI segment, thank you first of all very much, Nikki. This thing about the finfluencers is something I've been asking myself a lot around. Where's the line between providing information and facts and education versus the line of giving advice? Because even in South Africa, there are loads of these, and interesting to see where we're going to go with this in the near future. But anyway, what I wanted to say was that, sorry for the bad sound. In the beginning, I tested everything and everything was set up to the right thing. I even tested the music and everything that I wanted to play. And then when we started, it switched to the webcam for some obscure reason. So anyway, we're back on the proper audio like you are used to. All right, so with that, I'm going to head on over to Norma. Norma, you're up. Give us those 3 secrets.
Good morning. So this topic of today is really about the 3 secrets that can get us unstuck and get us going again. And I think what started me to think about this was Francois' post in the beginning of the week where he quoted a sentence from Einstein, and I hope I don't screw it up, but it's something like, when nothing happens, we don't move, or something along those lines. Something has to happen for us to move, or something along those lines. And what I think sometimes happen is, and especially I've seen this in my own life, and this is really relevant to me right now, is when we set new goals and we start to create new habits, or we start to change things around, or we want to change the frequency of something, then we get to a point where we're a little bit we get a little bit stuck. And I think it's always very useful to go and look at why we're not taking those actions. So today is all about, let me give you those 3 things that I normally do and which I feel help in my life to get me out of that rut and really get me going again. So secret number 1 is really to go and look at, if I'm not taking the actions, what is sort of the fuel that's driving me? So as I've seen in my own life recently is I didn't take the actions. I have all the intentions to do things, but I don't take the actions. And then when I take a step back and I see, okay, well, what is really driving me because I'm not taking these actions? And it all comes from a negative place. So there's no love or compassion or self-care, in that whole process. So let me give you an example. If I want to grow my business, for instance, and it comes from this energy of hustle or maybe scarcity or, I need to rush to get there. It comes from pressure or stress. Those are normally the negative emotions that's not driving me to take the actions. Another great example is if we want to, let's say, lose weight. So I want to lose 10 kilograms in a month. The fuel driving that is I want to rush to get there because I want to feel better, or I feel pressure to get there. And then the actions that we're taking doesn't really, the fuel that's driving it isn't driving our actions. So I might then say, my actions will be, I give myself 3 carrot sticks and a couple of lettuces and tomato and cucumber as my meals. So just think about, is those actions coming from love, compassion, and self-care? And is that sustainable? Because if I think over the long term, the person that I want to become, do I want to be that frustrated, resented person on this journey? Or do I want to be like joyful and overwhelmed and committed and, maybe more positive emotions? So the second secret that I want to share is that we want to choose our discomfort. So on this journey is always going to be discomfort, but I want to choose my discomfort. So I don't want to feel things like overwhelm, anxiety, or worry all the time. I want to work towards this goal, and I want to be committed. I want to be maybe vulnerable. And those are the feelings that doesn't necessarily feel good, but it drives positive action. So we need to know that I can choose my emotions or the feelings or the fuel that's driving me. And then lastly, which is quite an important one, so the last secret is I need that power sentence. So a lot of times, and especially in business, we get to a point where we do new things and we don't know exactly how to get there. Yes, we've got all the how-tos in the world. We can go to Google, or the experts can tell us how to do it. But we get confused sometimes because our skills and our strengths are different. So we get to a point where I'm confused. I don't know how to do this. And then when we have that power sentence, that can immediately just switch the energy. So for me, my power sentence that helps me quite a lot in my business is I know exactly what to do next. And we have these thoughts in our minds sometimes that feels, or it seems very innocent, but things like, I don't know, or I'm not the type of person that can do that. Those are really things that's keeping us a little bit stuck sometimes and, keep us from moving forward. So these are the 3 secrets, and I hope it helps you in your journey when you get a little bit unstuck. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for being here. I'll be back. Thank you.
Alrighty. Dankie, Norma. And yes, it goes something like nothing changed. What? Yeah. No, I also can't remember what that quote says. It's something like in the line of nothing changes until something moves, or something like that. But anyway, so yes, thank you very much. It was an amazing segment as always. Right, so time for some announcements. When you hear this music, it's time for some announcements. The very first one I want to share is just an event, 2 events. Well, it's the same event, but one taking place in Joburg, one taking place in Cape Town. On the 29th of November. There's loads happening on the 29th of November. You just heard the tax planning event from the FBI with Dr. Marius Boertard. Then we have Jersey Finance. They have an event that runs from 12:30 in the afternoon until 6:30 in the evening. It's an in-person event. It's on future-proofing wealth. And the one in Joburg is on the 29th of November. And there's also one in Cape Town on the 1st of December. Now, I will be at that one. I'm going to be in Cape Town at the time, so I'm going to the event on the 1st of December. If you want to know more and you want to register to attend, then I did add it to the description. If you can't see it in the YouTube description, you can just refresh, because I added it after we started. So you can find the 2 links there to go and register. It's a completely free event. It's the guys from Jersey Finance, so there's loads of amazing speakers and things that they're going to talk about, future-proofing wealth. So if you do want to attend that, I'll also send out the links via my WhatsApp. So if you're not part of the WhatsApp group at this point, or you're not getting my notifications, then you are most welcome to go and join that. Where is that? Here we go. So there's it on the screen. If you want to go propulsion.co.za/WhatsApp, you can join the WhatsApp notification squad. So then you're welcome to do that. Righty, so that's the first one. The next one is our event for Pro members, so for Propulsion Pro members, the last CPD event of 2022. It's luckily not the last CPD event ever, but we are hosting the last one for this year on the 29th from 9 in the morning, from 9 until 10:30. It's on 7 focus areas for your practice in the next 12 months. So I'm going to get into that. 1.5 CPD points, verifiable CPD points nonetheless. So if you are a Propulsion Pro member, then do check it out. If you are not a member, then you can go check out all the details of how to become a member for 350 Rand a month. Or if you want to pay annually and save a little bit, you can do that as well. But you can go to propulsion.co.za/pro. Then the last one second last announcement is just again on the tech event that's happening on the 7th and 8th. We've had an amazing response from sponsors and people who want to be part of this from the tech point of view. So really excited for that. Tickets are going to go on sale the 14th, which is next week, I believe. This is on Monday, yeah. So we're going to start selling early bird tickets at a discount. So if you want to get your ticket, then if you are in the tech space and you want to get involved from a sponsorship point of view, please get in touch with me. If you didn't, we had a session on the 31st of October where I shared everything. I'm happy to share the recording with you. I'm more than happy to have a meeting and have a discussion around what it offers, etc. So what we're trying to do is bring loads of different aspects of tech for the financial planning business together in one event. And it's going to consist of showcases, panel discussions, keynotes, really a very valuable event that we're going to do. It's going to be a virtual event and really loads of things. So we're looking at software, hardware, data. We're looking at cybersecurity. So loads of different things in terms of tech that will help from the one man, one woman, IFA, FSP, right up to the big guns. So please do save the dates, the 7th and 8th of March. So looking forward to that. Then, what else was there? Let me just make sure. I think that's that. The very last thing is just a quick reminder of, it's been a while since I've spoken about TaxSpace. So just remember our software TaxSpace, if you want to analyze the client's RT34 and open up to 9 opportunities for financial planning. This is a great little tool. So do go check it out, www.taxspace.app. Alrighty. So with that, you've all been waiting here. Nobody's here for me. Everybody's here to listen to Julie and see how can we have and I want to say like anything in life, right? It starts with mindset. It's how we think about this. It's the meaning we give to this. Like it's whether it is a pebble in our shoe or whether it's a spring underneath our shoe. So that all starts with us. And unfortunately, I think the way that this has been driven, and I'm going to say this, like a lot of times, from a compliance department or compliance company or compliance officer point of view, there's loads of pressure on everybody, whether you're a one-person business or a big business, to comply with all these things and things that must be in place. And it's extremely overwhelming. So it's been a massive frustration. But today, I'm not going to talk about the process and the regulation and things like that. It's more the role of compliance and why it is so absolutely critical. As I said, Julie has completely shifted my thinking when I spoke to her a few weeks ago. So without any further ado, let's get the main segment started so I can introduce you to Julie. Julie, it's time. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Francois. Thank you so much, and welcome, and good morning to all the listeners.
Yeah, amazing. So, Julie, you are a co-founder of Lemonaide, which is the overarching business. But there's 2 sort of main products within this. There's honeycomb and there's beeswax, which we'll get into. You've got a long history in this area. And I'm really looking forward to having a discussion with you today. And just by the way, if you want to connect with Julie, you can do so on LinkedIn. You know that everybody's on LinkedIn. I don't know how active Julie is on LinkedIn, but definitely I found her there. So at the very least, or if you want to get in touch with her, I will share the details a little bit later, and you can also get in touch with me to get in touch with her. So absolutely no problem. Julie, you know, I think when I think about compliance, and I think many of the listeners and viewers and so forth on the that's here today, and thank you to everybody that's here live. I always appreciate this, and please ask questions. Please share your opinions and your experiences. Like, that's what this live show is about. We can engage back and forth. So I just wanted to remind everyone of that. But anyway, so if we think about compliance, and we think about like the frustration it's causing, there's all this, and it's just becoming more and more regulation. Last week, we spoke to Anton Swanepoel about Kofi that's coming, which is going to be like, he said like phase on steroids, right? So I think everybody goes, I mean, there were a couple of people saying like, okay, I'm selling my practice, and it's not that bad. But you know, it is this thing like, oh, I've got to spend all this time proving that I'm complying. And then when I'm going to really run my business and see my clients, but I want to get to what is the essence of compliance, like what is at its very core?
Yeah, I think, Francois, a lot of people, I mean, if I may just backtrack a little bit, if you hear the word compliance, people usually frown and you are not received very well, because it is a pain. And I think it's become a pain because of the stick of measurement and the punishment that goes along with it. You have this huge threat of huge fines that's going to be handed out if you are not compliant, and everybody is driven and everyone is running around and scrambling to do as much as they possibly can with tool sets that cost and use so much of their time. People are spending time on doing compliance instead of doing what they're supposed to. And earlier you mentioned that and I mean, what you just said earlier, people think, do I have to do this? I'm not getting to what I'm supposed to do, and I'm spending all my time on doing compliance, trawling websites, going to different applications, trying to pull information together. And I think the core of compliance is firstly to understand, why do we have to do compliance? What is compliance about? I can spend hours telling you stories of people that sit in sessions that I've had, training sessions, conversations, where they say, why do we have to do compliance? Why should we do compliance on my client that I've known for donkey years? Why is this all necessary? We're just being burdened with unnecessary tasks. If we really unpack compliance and we have a look at what compliance really is and what we can do as normal practitioners to circumvent certain things that has a huge impact, not only globally, but on us personally too. Compliance is all about preventing and making it difficult for someone to possibly launder money. Now, that is a phrase too that a lot of people hear. It gets thrown around. What is money laundering? Money laundering is when you are facilitating or conduiting people to take money that has been received from ill-gotten gains and transacting with that money and using you as a conduit. Now, if we have a look at compliance, the compliance is really quite simple in saying you need to know who your client is. You need to understand who that client is. Yesterday I had a session where somebody said to me, but what happens if I didn't know? And I'm going, but that's the essence of compliance. You have to know. You have to make it your responsibility to know who you are dealing with. And my business partner, Louis, always says they walk amongst us. And it's usually the guy that you think you know very well that you don't know, and you're not sure where the sources are coming from. So to be able to do compliance, and I always get teased about my WhatsApp profile, I say compliance is the best. I'm not being sarcastic. I truly do mean that. If we all just contribute that little bit of effort in doing compliance, making it difficult for someone to be able to transact with monies which we perhaps don't know where that comes from, we will be able to have an impact on topics like human trafficking, rhino poaching, terrorism. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, we had that scare from the FBI that had indicated that there's a terrorist group. So many people that I've spoken to said, ISIS in South Africa? Yes, we do have ISIS in South Africa. It's just unspoken of. It's not media-sized for obvious reasons. ISIS is not going to put a big banner up and say, hey guys, guess what? We're now in South Africa. They do lurk in the dark corners. But what are we doing to contribute and ensure that we are not facilitating these kinds of crimes in what we do? And that is the essence of compliance. And I think once a person understands that paperwork that we all hate, that little job that we have to do because we have to comply with the FIC Act, what does that actually mean? What are you preventing? What could you contribute towards? And I mean, the stats on your human trafficking, yesterday we got feedback from a webinar that was held, an international webinar. Francois, 1,050 children and women are being kidnapped per hour globally.
Sure.
Now, this needs to be funded. Somebody's funding this. ISIS that they found in South Africa, they found the 4 leaders in KwaZulu-Natal. They've got 4 companies that have been trading in South Africa for years. Not recent, for years. Now, who has been trading with them? Do they know who sits behind those companies? And I think that is the essence of doing what we have to do. It's not a love task. It is something that we do not enjoy, but we have to do it, and we have to all add to that bucket of water by adding drops at a time. And I truly believe that that is what compliance is about. We have an obligation to comply. We have an obligation to know who we are dealing with. We put together an application which we feel helps and streamlines that process, because we are so passionate about being able to do compliance and reaching out to, from the smallest little company with a one-man show right through to your bigger corporates. What needs to be done? People are spending too much time trawling networks and trawling Google and looking at different platforms, and you never get the overall picture. And we believe that Beeswax is an application that is automated where it should be automated in obtaining data and also obtaining the correct data. We have got data sets like POCA cases, which is your prevention of crime. We have got data sets like enforcement actions. And I know people are sitting probably listening to me going, what's that, Julie? Why should we be doing that? That is, once you have got something that you're perhaps suspicious of, that gives you the true essence of a due diligence process. Understanding, what is this person actually up to? What are they doing? South Africa, unfortunately, is a target at the moment. And if you have a look at, you can go and Google anything about compliance, fraud and corruption only takes place in a country where it's easily hidden. So if you are not doing proper compliance processes, it is easier for people to trade and to be able to finance these types of hideous crimes, which we know very little of, and yet it's rife.
Yeah. Julie, so there's a couple of things that you've mentioned that I want to sort of delve just a little bit deeper in maybe, and it'll all lead back to where we just finished off now. But just from a perspective of, let's go back to the person who said, what if I don't know? If you think about income tax, for example, SARS is very clear. Like you can't rely on I did not know. You must make sure that you know. So exactly the same, there's a responsibility. If you are an accountable institution, then you should make it your problem to know and to find out. And you must be able to show that you went through a process, I would assume, that you tried to find out. If you then didn't find out, that's fine. But if you did nothing, or you asked one question, are you a politically exposed person? And this oak said no. And then you just accept it at face value. Does that negate, does it take away? Does it mean that you've ticked that box? Because that's one big thing where I think compliance is this massive tick box exercise for many things, from doing FICA right through to CPD to like all the things that we need to comply with. And yeah, I mean, like some of the things that you mentioned, that's so important. And I'll get to, because I want to get into those stories a little bit later around the human trafficking and the things that, and how this actually plays into preventing that, because that's very, very powerful. But at the end of the day, you know, how, I think, let me just ask the question this way. So I think what a lot of people are sitting here thinking, like if they're in a small IFA business, for example, is, look, like now I've got to do all of these things, and now I've got to make sure that I'm not dealing with ISIS, for example. And I don't want to use that word too many times. I'm worried that YouTube will will let us know. Let's like this video. But I mean, like, is there a way to sort of make this easier on yourself? And I guess the question is, like, if I'm a small IFA, how does my process differ for trying to identify these kind of risks in my engagement with clients versus a medium-sized or a larger business? Is there a difference in the process? And I'm not yet talking about the tools which we'll get into, but I mean, is there a difference in the process, or is it that we all need to follow the same process? And what is that process?
So, Francois, that's a very, very interesting question. And I think it hits the nail on the head too. A small company has got the same obligation as a large corporate. It's how you manage that and how you do it and how it's performed in where the difference lies. And a small company dealing with perhaps a lot of family members, family friends, family people that they know, they have the same obligation as a corporate does for someone that walks through the door. In fact, I think they have a larger obligation, because nobody who is going to be trying to use any institution as a conduit for money laundering is going to go to a corporate. They are going to find the smaller people. And that is why FIC has been so active. And when we speak of FIC and the FIC audits that take place, the FIC auditors are there to determine whether or not an accountable institution has performed the correct steps and measures in doing due diligence. And if you have followed the steps and you understand what it is that you need to look for, and you don't spend your time actually looking for it, but actually analyzing what you have found, you are in good standing and you know that you have performed the correct duties. If you have followed all the steps and you have performed due diligence to the best of your ability, in other words, doing the steps correctly, getting the correct information, and analyzing the information, you know that you are in a safe position when it comes to having a tick on compliance.
Sorry, I think what you're mentioning there is that it's exactly that. It's almost like one of the things that came through my mind as you were saying, like, they're not going to choose a bank to try and launder money. They're going to come to the unsuspecting small because who's going to come to me because I'm this small business kind of thing. It's almost the same as what's these oaks called, like, you know, like the hackers. You know, there's more data breaches in small businesses, and it increases like on a daily basis about how these small businesses are being attacked because their systems are probably more vulnerable. They don't have the same level of security as a corporate would have. They don't have monitoring teams sitting there seeing if something's happening on the network, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes absolute sense that they would actually target somebody that is unsuspecting, if you will, and operates in good faith. Because I think in a small business, you often operate on good faith, right? Sure. And I finally remember just now, like many years ago, this is just a funny little story, but many years ago, I had I was looking after an advisor, and we did the underwriting on a risk policy, and it came back, and we declined it, and the reason was that there was health issues, and the answer the advisor gave me, like, but hulle so oulike familietjie, jy sal nooit sê daar's niks fout nie. You know, and it's like exactly that. It's like this, on the surface it looks absolutely fine. They behave like normal people. They look proper, they act proper, they're courteous, they're respectful, you know. They don't look like gangsters, if you will. Yet those are exactly the people hiding in plain sight that you don't know is the thing. And now my question is just before I get into more of the practicality, is just, so, and I think you alluded to this, and this is where I want to get a little bit more into the stories around the human trafficking and all sorts of other things that are being funded and things that are carried on, through money laundering, is like why we should care so deeply about compliance. Because getting back to the question or the comments or the statements that people make, like, I must just get, it's just part, I want to just get it done, so they just do it so they can tick a box. And also, just by the way, compliance goes deeper than phase. There is compliance with the Companies Act. There's compliance with, there's loads of things that we need to comply with, by the way. So we're talking here in general as well. But, I mean, what is the impact if we do compliance well? And I'll get into, because I want to get into sort of how do we make it easy for the small guy to do what the big guy is doing as well. So we'll get to that. But what difference is this making on the ground, Julie? Like, if we do this and I'm able to identify someone, through whatever means, and I identify, what difference does that make? And because I think that leads to why I should care so much about compliance.
Absolutely. And I think, Francois, that is exactly why I am so compassionate about and passionate about compliance, is because we can make a difference. And if you take an example, and I think this is an example that it's a real example, it has happened not too long ago, and this is to me the essence of why compliance exists. You have got a drug lord that sits in KZN. Okay. He sells drugs to school children, which could be, many of us have children. You don't know what they get exposed to. You are not always with them. And a person tries to protect those that you love, be it your kids, your husband, wives, mothers, fathers, etc. We have got exposure to these rogues, and our children have got exposure to these rogues. They are selling drugs and they are trading with drugs. That particular individual had a life policy. He was mowed down when collecting money from a drug deal that went pear-shaped, and he has now got a life insurance that has to pay out. How did that person manage, with his history, being on, if you go and Google this individual, there's articles from 2011 that exist about him, about his drug activity, about being an underworld kingpin. How did he manage to have that kind of insurance? And that specifically explains how we could prevent people that are earning money from this kind of trade, to prevent them from having an ordinary financial life. So you're not going to stop any of the crime. We are not going to stop people from laundering money. We're not going to stop people from being drug dealers or human traffickers or rhino poachers or whatever they get up to. But you can make it difficult for them. And your moral obligation and your legal obligation should be in line. And that is exactly why organizations like FATF exist. It is the global organization of protecting the integrity of the world's financial trade, to say, do not allow people that are gaining money from ill activities to be able to trade. In the week, I had one of the car dealerships that had a case where a 24-year-old walks in with 1.3 million rand cash wanting to buy a car. Where is he getting that money from? The first thing that I get asked is, should I turn him away? It's a wonderful deal. Now, we all have to make a living. We all have to do, and we have to trade, and we have to make our money. But are you promoting people being able to gain money from any means and having a normal financial life? You are then promoting and you are conducting that kind of activity. And Francois, what scares me is a lot of people say, yeah, but it kind of happens there. We don't live in that world. Drug dealership and human trafficking, the reason why they keep all of this quiet and don't mediatize is because it will cause absolute panic. If you know how often this happens and where it happens, it's not happening in little dingy areas. It's happening all around us. We are just not aware of it because it gets kept quiet. And if you are an accountable or a reportable institution, you have got the staff in your hand. You have the ability to make these people's lives difficult to trade. And that is why we put together an application that does that for you. So you are able to see, is somebody politically exposed? Do they have any adverse media around them? Media is a wonderful thing. And social media, and I must say, and I hope none of the rogues are listening to this, but they love bragging. So there's always some kind of social media outlet, the great reveal of my new G-Wagon, and the great reveal of my child's 21st birthday present, which cost 4 million rand, and my home, and people can't help bragging. So social media exposes a lot about people. Beeswax, the application, will be able to draw those information sets for you so that you don't have to sit trawling on your own, but it'll put together a composite picture that then puts you in a powerful position to be able to make the correct decision and perhaps prevent things from happening. We've all seen that the Zondo Commission, I mean, how many people have commented on, but where's the consequence? And how did this happen? Oh, we're all shocked. How did it happen? It all boils down to the fact that compliance wasn't kept. If you're doing business with somebody that you know is known for tender fraud, is known for fraudulent and corrupt activities, and has a lot of adverse media around them because of their lifestyle or because of what they do, don't do business with them. You can prevent, you can make it difficult for the rogues to financially live.
Yeah. And, listening to you, I'm going like, yeah, it's exactly sort of the thing that happens is, I think in our minds, we think, oh, what difference am I going to make? What is my little thing going to do? And one, I don't move in those circles. Secondly, the other idea or the other thought that just came to my mind, Mark, this is why I'm not coming to KZN, because all the stuff is happening in KZN. Just saying. It's an amazing sort of thing just to think about this, from that point of view. Just quickly, let's just touch on like also again the human trafficking part of it. I think you had a story that you shared with me when we met a few weeks ago around that. Also, that's very practical, and just to explain, the impact that if we can, so there's thing about people having loads of money and dealing drugs and doing all sorts of other crazy crime stuff. But I think one of the biggest things is this thing. If you say like 1,050 people every hour globally gets kidnapped, I mean, that is absolutely freaking crazy. And me here in South Africa, in Krugersdorp, or maybe not thinking that I can make a difference. It doesn't mean I have to get involved with somebody that fights this or some whatever. Just by doing my job well, I can make a difference. So is there anything you can share with us just along those lines to highlight that issue as well?
Absolutely, Francois. And I suppose it's partly because I'm a woman and partly because I am a passionate person. I get very passionate about particularly the human trafficking part of things. And I don't think people know what an impact they could have by doing compliance within that evil sector of what happens. If you take somebody who is into human trafficking, it is quite a syndicate, and it's a very fine-tuned operation which they have in place. You're not just going to wake up one morning and decide, let me go steal a child. It is a syndicate that is well planned, it's orchestrated, and it's run by extremely astute business people. That business needs to be funded. You need to pay someone to go and kidnap the child. You need to pay someone to have that child transported. You don't want a kicking, screaming child, so you're going to drug the child. And they do all of this in under 3 minutes. They shave their hair, they change their clothing. Who supplies the clothing? Who supplies the equipment, the drugs, to drug the child so that they numb and don't say anything and just sit looking at everybody? Who funds that? Money is needed from the moment that concept arrives right through to getting that child to a destination where it will be used for either labor, for prostitution, they put them into armies, they do all sorts with them. Who actually pays that? Now, if you have somebody that is a part of this, that is a financial contributor to this kind of crime, and they want to have a life insurance or buy a car, or they want to buy a home, who is assisting him to launder that money and to get that money clean so that he can pay others to do the tasks which they need done? So that is where doing compliance plays a huge role. And if you can make those people's lives difficult to financially trade by doing due diligence, and you will be very surprised how a system like Beeswax is able to give you this kind of information on the offset. Will you always get information? Any software provider that tells you, yes, we're 100% accurate is lying. But the majority will be captured within that first moment of engagement. So we can, as a mom and pop shop that sits on the corner, that is an accountable institution because the law has decided you high risk, which for good reason has been done, you are able to make a difference in doing your due diligence on the friend that you're signing up for one of your products.
Yeah. Julie, so let's talk. We've got 3 minutes. Let's talk about Beeswax and just how it works, and all of that. Just the concept of it. I mean, obviously people can book demos and things to see that, but I've also put the website on the screen as well as down in the description, so people can go and learn more about what it is that you do. But just quickly, what is Beeswax? What does it do? How easy is it to use? And that.
Awesome. So I think, Francois, just again, based on the stories and the reason why I'm so passionate about compliance is because we can make a difference. And the software application that we have designed has been conceptualized because of that, in saying, what can we provide to accountable and reportable institutions that can help you to not spend your time on the incorrect things, but rather on the analyzing, and then at the end of the day, ticking the box that I have done proper due diligence. The system takes care of looking through data sets for you to compile a proper due diligence on your clients. The Beeswax application is extremely easy to use. You need a name, a surname, and an ID number, and it's incredible on how much information you're able to draw on individuals based on that. And the Beeswax application automatically screens your individuals and brings back a report for you based on your RMCP, and also risk calculates your client and has automated ongoing checks, which is imperative. So all the major frustrations that people deal with when it comes to compliance, the Beeswax application has taken into regard and actually does that for you. So having the Beeswax application will make your life easier and will make your compliance a lot more enhanced and the experience a lot easier than the current frustration that we're dealing with in getting papers and Googling TFS lists and trying to figure out where am I, what have I done. The system actually takes care of that for you. But I think the main driver of the Beeswax application is to actually motivate people to do compliance so that we can make a difference in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what is important is that ongoing, because I think also there's this notion that you just check it once. Just because somebody is on the straight and narrow today doesn't mean that they're on the straight and narrow tomorrow. So there is this requirement that it should be done annually, I think, at the very least, to check if somebody is still who you think they are, who they introduce themselves to be. So very important. So Julie, if I've got it right, the normal cost of this is, and you can explain how the cost works in 30 seconds, but I think it's 1,250 per firm for this. I'm not sure about the corporates and how that pricing works and all of it, but for the normal small guy, it's 1,250. If you're a Propulsion Pro member, you get a massive discount of 55%. So then you pay 562 Rand 50, if my math does not escape me. So, so definitely something that you want to check out. At the very least, you want to get in touch with Julie and get a demo, right? That money is the biggest investment you'll make in your business ever, like in my opinion. When I saw this way back, I saw this like many months ago, early in the year, and I was just like blown away. The way the application looks, the way it works, what it shows you, it's just, you've got to see the demo to really appreciate what this does. When we launched this on Propulsion Pro, like the people just went like, oh, I want this. So it was really great. So just wanted to leave that there. But Julie, I don't know, any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, Francois, I think just thank you to you and for what you're doing. I think you are getting the correct message out to so many people and helping people understand why they have to do things. And I think that it makes you and Propulsion something that I think is amazing. So thank you for the opportunity to chat on your show. And anyone that would like to have a chat with me, my contact details are on our website as well. So please get in touch.
Fantastic. Julie, thank you very much for your time. Wishing you a lovely weekend. And I'll definitely be chatting to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Francois.
Okay, Julie. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of episode 199 or episode 39 of season 3. Next week, episode 200. As I said, my guest is Davie Rood. So if I can't be on Byte Soccer, Davie, you will be on Propulsion Live. So I'm really looking forward to next week. And obviously then we'll be back same time, same place next week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper. And remember to raise the ball. Bye-bye.